Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Y'all didn't see this. Caleb almost tripped walking over here, which would have been a little funny. We hope you're doing
For
well
everyone
this morning.
but me, probably. Yeah.
It would have been okay. It's just, y'all can tell this morning we're hanging out in Caleb's office on the couch, just wanting to get something out there for Timeout Tuesday. We're talking about several things this morning, but the thing that's probably most pressing in terms of our church calendar, in terms of things that we have coming up, is Hope Revived. Hope Revived 2023.
Hope Revived 2023. Yeah. Yeah, this is our fourth annual, or don't know that we knew it was going to become a fourth annual or even an annual kind of thing. The first year, it was out of sheer, not desperation, but sheer necessity because of everything that was going on during COVID in 2020. And this was before we really knew that we should probably still been meeting, and so anyway, it was really cool. Then it evolved into an in-person thing the following year, and then a new group of speakers last year, and some other ministries represented, and now a new group of speakers and some of the same ministries and more ministries like that we've got to be a part of, and so yeah, it's exciting.
It's become broader and broader in terms of scope and in terms of what we're trying to do. So that's really what we're going to spend time talking about today.
It's going to be brief.
Talking about
well,
we've got too much to do. We've got too much to do for it to be too long.
It's not a Wednesday or a Sunday. What are we doing here?
We're gonna have to start. That's really the only reason we do Timeout Tuesday, is to show people that we actually come to the office on days outside of Wednesday and Sunday.
And by sitting on a couch, you're confused as to whether or not this is actually an office.
Working.
So maybe we should have sat at our desks to do this. Anyway,
so next time, maybe we'll consider doing that. But today we actually are bringing in some of that broader scope. We're going to narrow it down, and we're just going to talk about one day out of the event. We're not even going to spotlight an organization today, although we might do that towards the end if it. You don't know how this goes. Stream of consciousness. If Caleb or I think about something that would be a natural fit, we might bring it up. But really, we want to talk about our speaker and worship band for day one of Hope Revived, April 24th.
Yeah, I met or got in touch with the music group through you, and you got to see them, and that's We Are Called. And I've spelled it completely wrong based on their Facebook at least 3 times. I think it's one word. We Are Called. Sorry about that. And then Dr. Chuck Pusho will be our speaker. And so tell us a little bit about We Are Called.
I'll talk some about We Are Called.
Here's what I know about We Are Called. The girl who plays the bass plays a pink bass. Bright pink. And it is legit.
DJ and the rest of the crew are they're actually a family band. So it's one of the unique cool things that they represent and that they do in their ministry, and they really honestly serve a need, because it's hard sometimes to find bands for students or people who come in and do Disciple Now events and do camp events and those sort of things. Caleb knows this firsthand as well, having been in that space and having had to look for some of those things before. It can be hard to find really faithful, really, really good servants who aren't just performers, but people who actively are trying to minister to the students and lead them in worship well. And We Are Called does that excellently. We've had them for the past couple of Disciple Nows down at our DeSoto D now at Clara Springs. They've led really well there. They make a point to hang out with our students, so we know they'll make a point to hang out with you over the course of that evening that they're here for Hope Revived. And they've also done several. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, as a music guy, there are times when I go to things that are labeled as a concert, knowing that there's a concert. In this case, especially at Hope Revive, we want the congregation to sing. And from what you've told me and what I've seen, We Are Called does have some originals, but they also sing some things you're familiar with, and they worship. It's not, they lead worship. They don't put on a performance or a concert, unless they deem it as that, but in most cases they're leading worship, and that's a big deal as a music guy.
Part of that is they're just continuing, piggybacking off that thought. Part of that comes from their background. Everyone in the family, everyone in the band has got extensive experience serving in the local church context.
Right.
And so that's.
And I'm not like texting anybody, if y'all are wondering. I'm trying to interact with you folks on that might be watching this. So
through the chat, yeah. So if y'all are here and you're paying attention, you're watching, feel free to comment, and we'll get in touch with you through that. So we're really excited to have We Are Called here. I have full confidence they're going to do a great job leading us in worship that evening. But Caleb, why don't you, while I see that you're logged in on chat, why don't you go ahead and tell the people about a man that used to serve as your pastor several years ago, for several years.
Man, I'm not going to lie to you. When I first met him, he was super intimidating because he's just, his presence and his stature when he speaks is very prominent, very, very strong, because he is so confident in his approach to God's word. Mm-hmm. He's an expositor with a practical side of things, and man, when he preaches, he relates to people, and as I got to know him serving at Broadmoor for about 3.5 years, we developed a relationship, and it's not like we're not best friends. Like, hey, good morning, Chuck. It's not like that, but we text. Sometimes you think that pastors aren't normal people, or ministers aren't normal people. But he'll send
people have probably said that about us, Caleb.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. And so, he'll send me a text randomly of him hog hunting, or asking about a hunting area. And that's one of the things we have in common. And so, and so getting to know him from that regard and appreciating that, he has some of the same interests as me and other people. He's also a beekeeper, oddly enough. And, if you, here's a little plug for Caplock Honey. He and another guy started Caplock Honey, and it's so good too. But it's a raw honey, and so he finds a lot of fascination in just the whole process of the bees and taking care of them. All that to say, as a hunter and a beekeeper and a man of God who loves to share God's word, he recognizes the importance of God's creation and God's power in creation. Mm-hmm. And so he shares that passion through God's word whenever he preaches. That's why I mentioned all those things.
Sure.
And so he's a great guy that just has a very passionate desire to share God's word in a way that leads other people to him, encourages those who already believe, and brings others to him. And he's been a member or part of the IMB. Mm-hmm. He's actually the chairman of the trustees for the International Mission Board. So he has a huge heart for missions as well, not just his local church, but abroad.
So that's I hope those are for y'all. I mean, Nico did a good job with explaining Dr. Chuck and a little bit about who he is and the role he serves at in the local church. Hopefully, did a pretty good job explaining who We Are Called is as a band. And really, if y'all want to see more about We Are Called specifically, I'm not sure the easiest way to see more about who Dr. Chuck is, to maybe see some of his preaching, is probably to go to Broadmoor's website and to go to Broadmoor's social media channels. The easiest way to check out We Are Called before they get here on that Monday is honestly to go to their website, or also their Facebook. Their social media stuff is really good, and then they also have some stuff on I think Spotify and Apple Music. They also have some of their original music out there.
I'm fixing to post on the in the comments the one of the songs that I recently heard of theirs, and it's called "Lift Your Hands." Mm-hmm. And man, it is it's solid. Like it's a testimony. Lift my hands rather, but it's a solid display of strength and hope when we're talking about that. Maybe that's a little plug for them to sing it if they're watching or seeing it. I don't know.
Even if y'all are watching, I don't know if y'all are watching live, but hey,
yeah, lift my hands. Really great. I posted the link to the YouTube video, and the lyrics are powerful. Yeah.
Yep. And give it when you're there, be sure and give it a like and subscribe to them.
Yeah. And again, Hope Revived this year, Strength and Hope, is not just about Gloster Baptist. Like God laid it on our hearts 4 years ago to be a host and do put things together. But ultimately, this is for the community. Our theme this year is Stronger Together, and but we feel that way all the time. It's not just about Gloster Baptist Church. It's about how we work with other ministries like 318 that's going to be represented, Graciously Broken, Faith and Fostering, FCA, other churches, all these other churches, the Louisiana Baptist Convention, all those different ministries are going to be represented through Hope Revived. And Hope Revived, I'm going to say this again and again and again, is not about Gloster Baptist Church. It is about being stronger together as a community of Christ followers. And I am super passionate when I say that. And so I want people to know that. I think you know that. And I know that you display that as well. What would be the last thing in closing? And I kind of led to this Easter Sunday, but Hope Revived being an event or an action, what would you say?
Yes.
Both.
It's an event that constantly we want to remind each other. We want to remind the church in which we're hosting the event, but more than that, we want to remind the community, and we want to remind people without hope.
Yeah.
Or people that have lost hope, or people that need their hope renewed, that there is strength available for today and hope for tomorrow, and that those things are ever present when we center ourselves and focus on Christ.
Yeah. And that being said,
you're going to close out with the verse.
I am. Our theme verse for the year.
Yeah.
I think our theme song that you'll hear every night is "Lord, I Need You," a familiar song that's been around for a little while, and it just speaks to our need for God, for Jesus as our strength and hope. But our focus passage for the week is Psalm 73:26. Some may be familiar with it, some may not. It says that my flesh and my heart may fail. In other words, we're not perfect. But God. And I love that. My heart and my flesh may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. So in other words, when we are hopeless, when we feel like we don't have any strength, in this psalm, it reminds us that when we fall short, He takes over as our strength and our hope. And so that's a big deal. Like that's we are in some hopeless and times of weakness that we've never experienced in this world, and I think it's a relevant thing. So
y'all have a great day. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. That was shorter than normal. I think that was 10 or under.
Yeah.
So
and I'm going to try not to trip as I go back around to end the live stream. Love you guys.
Y'all have a great day. No tripping. We're good.
Stop tripping, Matt.